Hey people of the internet, I'm Berserker Kitten and this is my Inaros. You see, the other day I uploaded a video where I'm playing this guy in a solo Tower 4 survival for about an hour or so, and you asked me about my build. So before I start showing off what I do, what I put on this guy and all that, there's just a few things I need to get out of the way first. First of all, obviously this is not supposed to be the perfect way to play this guy or the number one setup or the best build ever. Also, what the fuck's going on with my melee weapon now? Well, that's just beautiful. Anyway, so, you know, this is just how I play this guy, and you're totally free to absolutely hate everything I do and disagree with everything. And, you know, I mean, there's plenty of other better YouTube channels out there explaining how to do stuff. However, if you really love YouTube videos that never get any more than maybe 100 hits and 20 plus dislikes, then you've come to the right place. The other thing is, I'm absolutely shit at editing videos, and I'm also a lazy bastard. So, you know, at some point I just stopped editing out random crap and recording the same lines over and over again until they come out perfect. So yeah, next time a SWAT team kicks down my door and brutally murders me, I'll just leave that in there, because let's face it, when's the last time you've done anything for me? You never buy me flowers anymore, and if we're being honest, you really just care about my body. Anyway, my setup. Let's have a look, shall we? First of all, let's look at the frame himself. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going for a maximum power strength build, and that's because all I'm using is Desiccate. So yeah, I'll get to that a bit in more detail in a minute. I'm using corrosive projection simply because I'm lazy and he's got that polarity on his aura slot. I'm using power drift for extra power. I'm using prime throw, which isn't maxed out because I'm broke as fuck and I can't afford all the fucking fusion cores. I'm using rage for very obvious reasons. I mean, this guy has no shields whatsoever, so using rage means you get power every single time you get hit, which is all the fucking time. Intensify for even more power strength, and you're never gonna guess why I'm using blind rage, but I will tell you. Stretch for a bit of extra power range, because Desiccate already goes really far, and Stretch just gives you that little bit of extra range. Then I'm using yet another power strength mod, who would have thunk? Bit of steel fiber to raise Inaros' naturally high armor even higher, and I'm using a vitality mod for extra health. The whole steel fiber thing, I reckon you could also use something like an armored agility, because the guy's a bit slow. Or maybe even use a what was it called? Fortitude, was it? I don't remember. Vigor, yeah. See, that's what I mean about being too lazy to edit shit. You could always use Vigor instead of Steel Fiber, and then the guy ends up with some 5,200 and something health. I'm not sure if the extra 600 really makes any difference, but hey, it's a free word, isn't it? Right, why am I doing this? Basically, the only ability I use on this guy for high-level solo missions is Desiccation. You see, basically all you do is you spam a whole lot of sand, and you can use Desiccation all the time if you're using a rage mod, because you're constantly getting hit from every single direction anyway. So just chuck that shit out, stab people in the face, get insta-kills, everybody wins. Perfect. Devour, I won't lie, it's a fun ability, alright, but if you're playing a high-level mission where stuff can practically one-shot you, you know, you get those random nullifiers and, you know, stuff that hits really hard, and even, you know, all the high amounts of health in the world ain't gonna save you, and Devour just takes all of 37 years to cast and complete. Besides, those sand shadows, they're just not that great, you know, they dial really fast. Not dial. They don't dial, they don't have cell phones. They die a lot, they die quickly, they don't last very long, and most of all, they always get stuck in doorways, and, you know, they're just, I don't like it. Sandstorm, yeah, right. Look, Sandstorm, I can't get it to work, alright? Yeah, you get to whirl enemies around a bit, but then you let them go, and what happens is you're all out of power, you're getting hit the whole time, and then half of the really tough baddies like Bombers and shit are still alive. If you're good at making Sandstorm work, hey, more power to you, congratulations. To me, it's just a big waste of time. Scarab Swarm isn't all that great either. Don't get me wrong, I haven't the 100% extra armor from Scarab Swarm is great and all that, but then you bump into nullifiers on a high level survival like literally every 20 seconds and they take the Scarab Swarm right off of you. If you have the time to recast that stuff all the time and, you know, get all your health back, then hey, go you. But I don't really use it. The one thing I use is Desiccation, because everything around you gets CC'd for as long as you actually have them looking at you while you cast it. Otherwise you'll just cast it at their asses and they won't get blinded. You do the kill animation, your finishing move, and that way you regenerate a whole lot of health. The other thing is, if you go for a whole lot of power strength, then you can actually kill a whole lot of lower level enemies just by all the damage that's being dealt by Desiccation, which is quite funny. Of course, it's entirely possible to just, you know, ignore the power strength and instead go for even more range, even get some extra survivability if you want it. I'm just going for power strength for the heck of it, but you know, there's probably plenty of other ways to do it. This is just the way I do it. And in order for the whole Desiccation thing to work, you're gonna need a dagger. Any dagger will do, seriously. I like to use the fiery dagger because it was just the first thing I could find, and with that you'll want to use covert lethality, and that's pretty much all you need. Most of the other mods don't really matter. I really just put them on there, you know, in case for whatever reason the finisher doesn't come through and you just do a regular attack. You'll want to deal as much damage as possible, which in case of single daggers isn't all that much. Covert lethality is how the magic happens. Basically, if you use a finishing attack on any enemy, regardless of their...
on navigation, Tenno.
Thank you. Regardless of their leftover health and their level or whatever, you will insta-kill anything that you attack with a finisher damage. And, you know, if you spam Desiccation, you can just spam those finisher attacks all the way anyway. Another mod that helps a bit with the whole cheesy finisher tactic is of course Fury, simply because faster attack speed means faster finisher animations. I didn't actually know that when I made the survival video, so when you look at that, I'll link it in the description in the channel. You can see that the finishing moves on the survival take for fucking ever. They're super slow. It takes me ages to kill one enemy after another, to move from one enemy to the next, because the animations are so slow. Because instead of Fury, I actually use Spoiled Strike for a bit of extra damage, figuring I'd not use any normal attacks and just use finishes anyway. But that shit slows finishes down a whole lot, so I'd really pick Fury over Spoiled Strike. Anything else should be fairly self-explanatory. I'm using a Rending Strike because, you know, slash damage and puncture damage on daggers and elemental damage, blah 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 blah. Again, the elements, in my opinion, don't really matter. You're not going for procs here, you're not going for status or crits or what the fuck ever. All you want is finishers. Nothing of this really seriously matters, so, you know, use whatever dagger you want, use whatever mods you want. Fury always helps. Covert lethality is a must-have. Everything else, do whatever you wish, it makes no difference. For the primary, I'm using a heck, and that's because, you know, sometimes there's a whole bunch of enemies standing right in front of you, and you can't stab them all before they all, you know, lose their CC effect and start attacking you again. So it's fun to just blast a whole bunch of enemies with a shit ton of damage on the heck, which is what I do. You get 4 shots, you empty your magazine, and whatever is left standing you just stab in the face. Of course you can use your weapon of choice. You could use a Tigris, which only comes with 2 shots but hits even harder. The point is, with this build, with Desiccate, you get to go really close up to the enemy without, you know, any risk of getting hit because they'll all be blinded. So you can shoot them from point blank range, and that means that even if you fight baddies that are level 100 and up, you get to 1 or 2 shot most of them fairly easily, and there's very little risk involved, and you know, you won't suffer from the damage drop off over distance or too much of a spread or whatever. So that one works out for me, but of course you can use your primary of choice, because the #1 method of killing baddies will always be stabbing them in the face with finishers anyway. This is just what I'm using because it works. As for the secondary, I don't use that one at all. I use the Vipers right now just because, yeah, they go with the outfit and they go with the looks, but use whatever. I really don't use secondaries for anything other than missions where you have to carry, like, you know, the data thingy, whatever it was called, and you have no choice but to use either melee or a secondary, and even then you still get to spam desiccate and just melee the shit out of everything anyway. This is actually an incredibly stupid build. You can see that I'm going for 58 fire rate, and on top of that I'm using this new mod, pressurized magazine, which gives me another 90% fire rate on top. So basically I can just pull that trigger once and, you know, the whole magazine's just gone. It's just empty, which is hilarious if you want to fight some bullet spongy enemies and you just see numbers all over the screen. It's not practical. There's absolutely no use to it. So, you know, maybe put something useful in your secondary slot or something. I don't know. Again, it absolutely does not matter to this build and playstyle. So what's left is the companion. To be perfectly honest, you could just go with absolutely nothing, because in my opinion, once enemies reach a certain level, it doesn't really matter whether you use a sentinel, whether you use a Kubrow, simply because, hey, they're gonna die, alright? Even a Kubrow, I mean, this Kubrow here gets... I wish I could remember how to show the stats. There! Health, 6,707 health on a freaking Kubrow. That's pretty amazing, but even then, once the enemies reach the triple digits, you know, the levels, then they'll still end up one or two shotting your Kubrow, and there's nothing you're gonna be able to do to save them. And they'll die, and then they'll hate you, and the loyalty goes down, and it's already depressing. So if you really, I don't know, do you really want to bring him or not? Maybe I just suck at protecting Kubrows. They still, I like him a little bit better than the Sentinels, because Sentinels die even faster and they don't come back unless you die as well. As for mods, it's really just the usual suspects. I'm going for Horus Kubrow for that bit of extra stealth, but, you know, it won't make a noticeable difference in my opinion. You can go without the Sentinel, or you can bring your vacuum pair or whatever, and it'll all die. If you play something really high level, it'll always end up dead, because that's just how life works. Right, oh yeah, I'm using arcanes. I'm just using whatever I found, but let me show you. Hang on, what was it? Attachments. Right, I'm using... What is it? Ceremony, blah 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 blah. Oh god damn it, I can't... Oh yeah, that's Arcane... Arcane Avenger. Why is it not listed here anywhere? Am I stupid? Am I blind? It's probably right here somewhere on the screen and I'm just too stupid. But this is Arcane Avenger, simply because it gives you a flat out 30% crit to everything the moment you take damage, with a 14% chance. It's not super useful because, again, if you're using mainly finishers and insta-kills anyway, then the extra damage is of absolutely zero importance. Whether it crits or not doesn't matter. However, if you depend on your primary a lot, if you shoot guys every once in a while, then this isn't half bad. I see lots of people who go for Arcane Grace, which I believe restores your health, but to be perfectly honest, whenever you stab something in the face, you regenerate literally over 1,000 health anyway, so in my opinion it doesn't really make much of a difference, especially since, you know, at some point enemies will get so strong they'll one-shot you, and one-shot means you can regenerate all the way you want, you'll still be fucking dead. But to each their own, this is what I'm using, and then I'm using something else and I can't find it. Where is it? It's my stupid helmet. I'm looking at Cyan Danas and that's why I can't see the helmet, because I'm a moron. Shoulder. Where can I see helmets again? Chest plates, shoulder plates, legs. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Attachments? No, helmet. There, it's right there. It's staring me right in the face and I can't see it. Look at this. I'm using Arcane... Oh, I can't remember. It's the Arcane... Yeah, Trickery! Arcane Trickery! I'm awesome, hooray! No, look, Arcane Trickery is the thing that gives you a small chance to turn you invisible for up to 20 seconds if you use the full 10 Arcanes, whenever you kill something with a finisher. Now, a 10% chance at 10 Arcanes is still pretty crappy, so it doesn't proc a whole lot, but if it does, then you're invisible, and that's kinda great because nothing will attack you. Of course, if you go with something like a Maragon? I forgot. That invisibility focus lens thing. Naramon. If you go with that, then you'll be invisible the whole time anyway, and then you can cheese it all the way through, and you need no ability whatsoever, and everything's even easier. Personally, I was stupid, so instead of Naramon, at some point I picked Madurai. Mostly, right now, you can see I haven't leveled it very far. I'm going mostly for Burning Rage, because extra impact damage, because Heck Shotgun is using mostly impact. Right now I'm leveling Slash a bit, and after that I guess I'll look into Puncture, because why the hell not? I'm pretty sure that Naramon right now is the best option all around, at least until they maybe decide to nerf it or change the way invisibility works or anything, but you know, I'm using Madurai, it still works, and yeah, that's that. And that's it for the weapons and for the mods. For the actual playstyle, again, the whole thing simply works. It's really cheap. It works because of Desiccate. Just be sure to cast it at their faces, at the front of the enemy, because blowing sand up somebody's butt doesn't blind them, obviously. They won't be CC'd. They get itchy assholes, but they still shoot you. Other than that, if you get overwhelmed, if you get surrounded, Desiccate should pretty much always get you out of trouble, except for, you know, whenever you get attacked by the annoying nullifiers, so be sure to always take those down first. Just walk through the shields and shoot them in the face with your Heck, or equivalent. Just be sure, if you don't like the Heck, bring a weapon that hits, you know, hard enough to kill stuff in as few hits as somehow possible, which is why personally I prefer shotguns, but hey, look, bring whatever you want if it works for you. Secondary doesn't really matter at all unless you have a super favorite secondary that's so strong that it still one-shots level 100 enemies or whatever. Hey, knock yourself out. Melee, single dagger is an absolute must, because otherwise, if you use any other melee weapon, the problem is that you won't be able to use covert lethality, and that means at some point enemies will have so much health that you might no longer be able to one-hit them with a finisher. If you absolutely do, if your melee weapon is strong enough to kill him with a finisher and without covert lethality, then by all means bring whatever melee weapon you want. Personally, I just go with the dagger, I play it safe, and that's really all there is to this playstyle. It's incredibly cheap, it's incredibly simple, any idiot can do it for as long as you have the mods and everything, and you can basically just keep on going until you run out of life support, if that ever happens at all. And that's just about it. That's how I play him. It's certainly not the most fun way to play him. It's certainly not using all of the abilities to its fullest potential. But we're just really exploiting his crowd control ability. And that's how this thing works. And that's that. See ya.